Welcome to Imperfect Momming. Our children are constantly looking to us for examples. The term role model doesn't quite cut it here. We are shaping their worldview with every move we make. You see, it's not in the lectures we give or moments where we are actively attempting to teach them. It's in the micro movements we make, the unconscious ways in which we navigate life. We are constantly teaching our children how to show up for themselves, their friends, their future partners, and even their future children. So what can we do to ensure we are raising thoughtful, compassionate, self-aware human beings? We have to become them ourselves. No one is perfect, but we can still all be better, and it starts with self-healing. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Imperfect Momming, and this is our lesson for parent support call for this week, and welcome back.
Welcome, everybody.
So last week we talked about parenting from faith, a place of faith or a place of fear. And so if you want to hear more about that, go back and listen to that episode. But today we wanted to talk about how, does how you were parented affect how you parent? And this is something that I've really thought about, like, over the years, like in my own parenting. I 100%, while we were discussing this before we hit record, I was like, oh, that's exactly what I did, where I like thought about the things that I liked from when I was a parent, when I was a child, and what my parents did, and the things that I didn't like. And, I changed those things respectively. I'll let you take it away, Melanie.
So when you say you change those things, I want the word that's coming to me is respectfully, but that's not what you said. Change those things respectively.
Respectively.
That's the word. When I was respectfully, I'm like, oh, she did it respectfully. No, it's respect. Anyway, okay, here we are again. So what can you unpack that a little bit, Alicia?
Yeah. So, a big thing that that I changed was, that my dad was more of a yeller. And so I did my best not to yell, and it wasn't until I learned some tools that I really I wouldn't say I achieved it to 100% perfection, but I'm significantly better than I used to be. And something that they did that I appreciated was they, both my mom and my dad spanked me one time, and it didn't hurt. And so, like, I actually did go the spanking route for the first, 15 months. Well, there was a 3-month period where I spanked him, and it really didn't feel good to do that. And I'd heard multiple different places that spanking doesn't really teach them anything anyway. It doesn't teach the lesson that you want to teach, and so I stopped that as well.
So I love that. A few things you said that are really important. One being that your dad yelled, you knew that that's not something that felt good for you. And so you really wanted to do something different. And so you intentionally set out to learn tools to stop yelling. Oftentimes as parents, what we'll do is we will default, whether we want to or not, when our brains go into a state where we feel out of control, we'll just default into what our bodies know what to do. Our bodies know what to do because that was what was done to us, for instance, right? And so it really takes energy and effort. One of the things you said is, I'm certainly not perfect at it. And I just want to present that because the truth is, I'm not sure we're ever perfect as parents or people. And to me, that's not the goal. The goal is, practice makes progress.
Yes.
right? Practice does
Yeah.
not make perfect. Practice makes progress. And then on the spanking, on the issue around spanking, sometimes our parents did things to us, or we do things to our children that will get the behavior to change. And I'm just going to, use an example of, the good little girl, like you were the good little girl that got yelled at. And so this is what my understanding is from what you've said. You're the good little girl that got yelled at. And so you complied. You did what you were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
But what did that do with the connection between you and your dad?
I mean, with my dad, my dad was struggled with connection in general. And so like I spent most of my life trying to connect with him. But I learned lots of lessons that he didn't intend, like don't try new things unless you know you're going to succeed. And since we don't have a crystal ball, guess how many things I like to try?
Not many will be my guess,
No,
right? It's like that got
not many.
that got drummed in, that got programmed in. And, even a tool like that, even a tool like yelling, or I'm going to use the example of spanking, where it could work for a time, like maybe that child will then become scared. So the child will comply. It's going to impact the connection, or it could potentially impact the connection that that child has, or the way that child feels toward their parent if that child does then feel fearful. Or you could have a child that is more of a feisty child, and then that child it could become combative. Like as that child gets older, then that child is going to it's going to teach that child. We're then teaching our children that hitting is the way to handle your feelings. So it's a very nuanced topic that we're talking about, because we look at it both from the perspective of what our parents did, what that made us do in terms of how we then acted or reacted as a result of what our parents did or our environments. And also then what we then do as parents. But it's also really, really important to take into consideration the child that we are parenting. So some children, some of us truly are like, we're those type of people who are going to like be feisty and stand up and fight when there's something that's going on. And some of us are going to be people that like cower or hide when something scares us, right? So that's going to impact the relationship that we have with our parents. And so really it comes down to, for me, well then, like truly what is our job as parents?
Right. Yeah, and I'm as you're talking, I'm kind of thinking like my dad I don't remember him yelling at me. I remember he yelled, but I don't remember him yelling at me. But what I do remember is that he would get really angry at certain situations, and he would get frustrated at me. That led to that, like, well, I'm not going to try anything new unless I know I'm going to succeed, and the point that you made, that we have to really know our child, is really important, because just because it worked, well, I don't know where you got this phrase, or maybe you came up with it on your own, but you've used it several times where you say, like, where did we get the notion that we have to make children feel worse in order for them to do better?
Behave better.
Behave better, yeah. And I lost my train of thought, like, because that's such a, like, because my brain just went like, yeah, where did we get this notion? And yeah.
And where did we get the notion is from, I think, the parenting that many of us were parented with, right? And that's what I'm saying. We can do things as parents that will make our children feel badly, that things that made us feel badly. and that will impact our behavior, like one way or the other. I mean, either we become very compliant, so then we go, oh, it worked, or we become combative and then we go, oh, it didn't work. But really, it's not that tool that is working. It's the relationship between the child and the parent. And then ultimately where we want to go is, okay, how is this impacting the child? And so, like, for me too, like, my mom definitely yelled. We I'm the youngest of four, and there was a lot of yelling that went on in my family, and yelling became my default when I didn't feel like I had the tools, or I felt like things were out of control, or I was out of control when my kids were little. I definitely, that was a tool that I would easily just, go to, is just my, changing my tone, raising my voice. And it was very comfortable for me because that was the kind of household I grew up in. And the other thing that we need to consider is, at that point, my husband at the time was very, very sensitive to that, because his father had been a raging, he'd been a rager. And so that impacted our relationship too. It's not just the impact because of what is happening directly between the parent and the child, but it's what's coming into the environment. Like you said, you weren't even yelled at directly, but just having that energy in the home. And so we want to just be really mindful of what we're doing and making very conscious choices as parents. Because again, there is this notion, like, how do where did we get the notion that to make a child behave better, we first have to make them feel worse? And there's this notion of, where did we get the notion that we have to be perfect and always get it right, when there is no perfection? And there isn't necessarily, I mean, there may be some things that you feel are wrong that wouldn't work inside of your family, or you feel that were done that were wrong to you or didn't feel good to you. So that's the place that we want to parent from. But really, what's the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal, from my perspective, or our perspective, right, to raise an enlightened child, is to really understand how we're being triggered by things that are happening in our environment. And what are we doing to ensure that our lights stay shining, and that the lights inside our children stay shining, and that we don't dim those lights, so that they will try new things, because maybe those new things that they aren't willing to try are actually part of what their purpose is in this lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was like, I tried publishing a book and I wasn't successful by my own definition of what successful is. And I stopped writing for 12 years. And there's no doubt in my mind that writing is part of, like, why I'm here on this planet. So, I mean, it does have a huge impact, but I love what you're saying, is to really, like, think about what is our intention? What are we trying to do in these moments? And what's the best tool that we can use to either get the result that we want, or repair after we've made a quote unquote mistake. So,
right. And Alish, one of the reasons that again, this is from discussions that you and I have had, so correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the reasons that you then came back to writing was that you then went back in and healed what it was that was preventing you, and you reprogrammed, understanding where that program was coming from inside of you, the things that you were telling yourself about success, of what success is, about what success isn't. And on that note, I just want to give a plug for your book, which is being released this week, which is awesome, right? Being re-released, that, it's the new and improved version of, and why don't you go ahead and say what the name is, and congratulations, and so proud of you.
thank you. And yes, I was healing in motion, because I started writing and then I was like diving into all of the stuff. But my book is called Good Mom Rules, Ditch Mom Guilt and Find Your Happy. And it releases September. What month are we in? November 7th. Oh, flashback. Okay. November 7th, which is a Tuesday. And we're actually going to be having our parent support call on Tuesday at 9 a.m. And we have a live workshop on Thursday as well. So if you're in the LA area,
Wednesday.
I'm so sorry, on Wednesday, it's on Wednesday. Everything else was in my schedule has been on Thursday, but yes, our workshop is on Wednesday.
Let me just,
Wednesday the 8th.
Wednesday the 8th, 9 a.m. Pacific at St. Martin of Tours School. For anyone that can join us live in Los Angeles next week, that is where we'll be discussing the tools of how to handle the holiday gimmies. And we will be also live in the Zoom room on Tuesdays virtually, including next Tuesday, which is Tuesday the 7th at 9 a.m. To provide support for anybody that wants to join us there.
Yeah,
and so Alicia's book. It'll be out next week.
Go get my book. It's coming out on Tuesday. So, and it's available on Amazon and Kindle. And if you want a autographed copy, like, find me. Go to raisingenlightenedchildren.com and email us. So we'll have another episode. We'll be back for our lesson before the parent support call next week. We will have another episode of our podcast on Thursday. And until we meet again, keep healing. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to Imperfect Momming. It's time for us to step up and realize that our power is not in trying to shape our children. Our power lies in shaping ourselves into the people we want our children to model themselves after. Don't just do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. When you become a more self-aware, compassionate, and confident person, you and everyone around you benefit. For more information about me and my work, visit AliciaLyons.com. That's ALYSIALYONS.com. See you next time.